Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Hello.
Hey,
Hi.
Joe.
Thank you. I appreciate being welcomed.
You're welcome. Wh-
Thanks.
Welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. This is our show that's all about you guys. It's all about you and your topics and all the stuff that you might be going through today. Yes, science, double Joe today. Ryan is currently out of the country and enjoying some nice vacation time. And yes, so it's me and Joe above
And
me.
Joe. Yes.
Yes. And he willingly was willing.
Yes. Can confirm.
Yes. To do Don't Worry Wednesday with us. And so that's awesome. Thank you, Joe, for filling in
Thanks,
and
Joe.
and for being here because honestly, I mean, I've done a handful of shows, at least a handful, maybe many handfuls of shows with Joe, and we've always had a great
Mhm.
time. And this man has some incredible wisdom and some incredible perspective. Been through a lot in his short 50 years that he's been alive, and
Yep. And I hope that in the next 10, I can hopefully achieve your 20 years of wisdom, Joe.
my
So,
20 years. Yes, thank you.
oh, wait. 19. 19. I rounded up. That's my bad.
Oh, is it 19 now?
Yeah.
Wow, I just keep getting younger and younger. This is great. So awesome. Well, yeah, so um you Pat, yes, you've been alive for at least 3 years.
Good.
Good
Good.
job. You made it. You made it at least 3. That's that's great. Um, so yeah, but this is the show that's all about you guys and your topics. If you have a topic that you would like us to do, you can go to don'tworrywednesday.com. You can click the submit a topic button and then fill out the form, and we will get that topic and we will put it in our queue and do it on our show. So we are not professionals. We are not professional therapists or counselors or anything like that. Joe actually is a professional in many areas. I'm just a professional musician, pretty much like my whole deal. Um,
And a very good professional musician at that.
oh, thanks. That's awesome of you to say. Um, but so yeah, so we are not a substitute for therapy or counseling or anything like that. We just want to be your friend. We want to help in any way we possibly can. We want to do what we can to offer you love and encouragement and maybe some perspective along the way and just help by being your friend and loving you because we all need some love and we all go through times where it's tough. We all go through stuff that we just need some friends and sometimes we need therapists as well as friends. And I would say when you're in that boat, you definitely need both. You need both a friend group and a therapist when you're going through stuff like that. But anyway, I think that's the legal stuff. Uh, you guys look awesome in the chat. Thank you guys for being here. How are y'all doing? And how are you doing tonight, Joe?
I'm doing good. I get to hang out with really cool people tonight. So that's always a plus. It's not always the case that I get to hang out with the fine looking specimens that we have in chat.
Hmm.
Or with Joe. I mean, the fact that I get to hang out with Joe for 2 weeks in a row is kind of top
Oh.
tier. Like that's way up there in the
Mm-hmm.
realm of having a good week.
Yeah, well, and it's 2 weeks in a row. You're having a good week for doing 2 weeks in a row. And actually, it was
Hmm.
2 days in a row. We had a staff meeting last night, and so we got to hang out last night as well, which was really cool. But
Was.
w- with us as well is Princess. She holds the show together for us. She's amazing. How are you doing tonight,
Mhm.
Princess?
I'm here to
You're
help.
here. Yes. Yes. Princess is going through a little bit of an illness and she's still here with us because she's so amazing. And I'll tell you, she just knows how to give. Tremendous. So,
So just be kind with me, chat, please. Thank you.
yes. Oh, Ash, we'll see you in a bit. Um, Great to have you and look forward to you coming back. But anyway,
Mm.
thank you guys for being here so much. And I think we should just go ahead and get started with our first topic. What do you think, Joe?
Let's do it. I like just getting things done.
Hmm.
That's how Joes are. That's a Joe thing, I think.
Yeah, we like to. We're action people. Hmm.
Action stars.
Activationists,
Kind of.
which is different than activists. We may be activists in other ways, but
Maybe.
we're definitely activationists.
Mm.
If that's even a word. I don't know if I just made that up or not. But all right. So this first topic that we have is called "To Live a Good Life," and it comes from us. It comes from us. It comes to us from Strawberry Paste. You'll have to forgive me. It's been a long day, so if I fumble over my words, I hope you'll understand. But anyway, we will get this topic up on the screen, and so that way you can read along while Princess reads it aloud. So, Princess, whenever you're ready.
I want to live a good life. Not just a good life, but a truly good life. I want to live well, but I'm lost. How do I live well? From Strawberry Paste.
Hmm. Well, how do you live a good life? That's a great question. And how do you define what a good life is? That's also a good question. And man, because there's lots of different
Yeah.
parameters you could think of there, right? Don't you think, Joe?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. What even is good? I mean, that's a lot of parameters. This is like 12 questions in one.
It
How are we
is.
supposed to do this, Joe?
We might just spend the whole show on this, actually. We'll find out. But
We'll
yeah,
see.
there's a lot of different directions we could take this. But yeah, to live a good life, that's you know, that's something I think a lot of us aspire to. We want to know what a good life is. We want to know what that looks like. We want to know what that feels like. And how do we get there? Because is it just financial? Is it, all around? Is it in your family life? Is it in your faith life? Is it, in physical fitness? I mean, there's lots of different areas that can contribute to a good life and to living well. And I don't know. I'm really excited to hear what Joe has to say. He and I used to do a show called the Double Cup of Joe Show, and we talked about a lot of things in this genre of how do you live well, how do you like, and we would dig into certain areas like goal setting and dreaming and all kinds of stuff like that, because all of those different things can lead to having a good life, which is something we're all working towards having the making the best life possible that we can do while we're here. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of Joe's way, and I'm going to turn it over to him and see what he has to say. Joe,
Oh no. Oh no, don't hand me these things.
I'm going to hand
Uh
you this thing right here. You got
oh, okay, cool.
it.
Thanks, Joe. I
Uh-huh.
mean, I appreciate you bringing up the old show we did, the Double Cup of Joe show. It was a really fun show for us to try and do in the morning,
Hmm.
where we really got to delve into some of these topics, the specifics, right? And we liked to kind of go back and forth on what is good. We talked about virtues. We talked about, I think we had like almost 100 shows on just this idea alone,
Mm.
which was hours and hours and hours of just thinking about the things that are good, thinking about the things that are bad. How do you move into a life that is just better? And so I think it's a good question to ask yourself, Strawberry Paste. Like, what does make a good life? And for each of us, it's going to be slightly differently. Like, what I consider to be a good life is probably not the same thing that Joe wants,
Mm.
and not the same thing that Princess wants. And that's okay. Like, that's actually a good thing to have differences. I think we're all created differently. And so having that mindset of, hey, my good life is going to look differently than other people's good lives is important. But I think we also like to look at things and say, okay, this is what a good life entails. And so I just want to like broach some of those topics. Like Joe said, we might spend the whole time talking about different things, moving different ways. And so I just want to bring up some of those options first and foremost, and then we can figure it out from there. Um, so in terms of good, I like to think first of like what is good? Like what are the general things most of us would say are that would be a good thing to do? So these were topics that we covered in Double Cup of Joe: honesty, integrity, trustworthiness, um, you know, uh, sticking to what you really want to do. Um, all of those things that if you were to meet somebody on the street and say, you know what, I want to create this person who I think is good. Like, what are the characteristics of that person? Um, and those are the things we looked at. And um, we talked quite often about the seven virtues, and how those influence things. And I'm not thinking of all of them right off the top of my head because it's been a hot minute since we did it.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to just talk briefly about some of them that feel like um, they feel like they might be hard, and not in the way that you're thinking. Like all of us, when I have this conversation with you guys and chat, hopefully you can talk back to me. Like, feel free, engage with this. Like that's kind of the point. Is what you have and what you're experiencing might feel different, and so engage. Like, mm, chat back. Like, what do you think is really the issue? Because honesty is where I'm gonna start because it's such an easy thing for us to say, hey, we need to be honest. um but it's much harder for us to always be honest, in a way that we're not hiding things from other people. So for for example, I'm going to give a reference from just the other day. I'm a teacher, and I was dealing with a situation with a student, that I didn't know how to respond to. And the student had done something that was not okay, and we wanted them to admit it, but the student like wouldn't admit their what they had done. And for me, like I had already known. It's kind of this idea of like just say what you've what everyone has already told me, and what you basically have shown me. I just want you to tell it to me. I want you to be honest with me. And
Yeah.
strangely enough, to get it to play out that way, my principal said, "You know what? I'm, you know, Joe, I need you to stand there. I'm going to lie to the kid to get him to be honest with us," which is
Oh boy.
just a really weird kind of conundrum here of, well, that seems strange. Like, why might you do that? And part of it is, when we say we might lie to someone, we might stretch the truth, right? Like we might say some things that are uh, far beyond what we actually have. This is very common of like, hey, we would say, hey, we've got, uh, you probably do this with other people as well, where you might say, hey, I know this thing, when you don't have like full evidence of such and such a thing, and they're like, you got me, you're right, that kind of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Because in reality, like you're not trying to make them open up about something that's like not true, right? Because if you tell somebody a lie and they're like, well, that didn't happen, so I know, because you would know that they don't have such and such evidence against you. If they're making something up to lead towards something false, you're going to know it pretty immediately, right? Like they would expose themselves as not telling the truth. But if you're creating an honest, when you're trying to lean towards having another person be honest, that's going to present itself as, oh, that could be something that's true. That seems truthful, because what you're looking for is the truth. And this isn't me telling you to to lie to people. And I told my principal I can't be there when you do this because I'm gonna have a really hard time. Like if you lean on me for any support here, I will crumble. I'm very bad at this, like bluffing kind of an idea.
Gotcha.
So, and I think it's important that that people, including the people who are searching for answers, to be honest as possible, right? Like my student who we're trying to get answers from, what we're trying to do is have them be honest, not only for our sake, because it's like, okay, it makes it really easy for us to um, to issue discipline when you admit to something. But it's not about that, right? Like the purpose of discipline is not to like punish people as much as it is I want you to see the error in what you've done so that we can move past this. I want things to get better. And when you are honest with people, when you have that level of integrity towards people, um, they don't feel like you're trying to like maneuver them. You're not trying to manipulate them. And by establishing yourself as somebody who's honest, other people look at you and go, when that person says this is what they want, I trust that that is what they actually want. And it does two things. One, it opens up avenues for you to be able to connect with people in new ways because they will be willing to be more honest with you. Now, does it also mean that other people might take advantage of that? Surely. I have no doubt.
Yeah.
But what it also does is it says, hey, we can be cooperative. I can work with this person. It might not be perfect, but you know what? I know what to expect with this person. And that's half the battle, I think, in interacting with people and living that good life is having something that's known. And honesty makes things known. It's really kind of leads to the truth. Honesty will always end up leading to the truth. As long as you can be honest, at least there will be a sliver of truth in any kind of situation. Even if the situation is terrible, lots of people are lying about you. If you can be honest, then the truth will be in that situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if nobody's honest, then that leads to a really dark and really bad place.
Yeah.
Do you have any comments on this, Joe, with honesty and kind of
Well, with
saying what
honesty,
needs to be said? Well, yeah, I mean, we might as well do a modified double cup of Joe here, where we talk about these different
all right.
parts of a good life.
Sure. Well, I mean, honesty is, I mean, it's an important thing to have, and there's one thing I've talked a lot of times about going to confession, and how I have gone a lot, and I said kind of jokingly to Ryan a few shows ago that I was like, hey man, I confess a lot of things at confession, but lying generally isn't one of them because I'm generally a pretty honest person. Now, being honest doesn't mean you have to say everything that's on your mind all the time. It's not. This is not the case, right? Like some people say, I'm just an honest person, and what they are is mean, right? Like because they're brutally honest, and they just say what's on their mind, and they say whatever it is, that comes to them, and there's not much of a filter, and so there's also tact that has to be involved in knowing when to say what is true and knowing when to just not say anything. I mean, you look at a biblical example of Jesus who, like when you read through the conversations that he had, he stood silent a lot of times. Or he would answer a question with a question and kind of draw out the other person and not necessarily reveal what was going on. So honesty, it doesn't mean that you're always saying everything. You're always just divulging all information. There's a time for being candid, and there's a time for being, quiet, and there's a time for, speaking up and saying what needs to be said. But being honest, I don't know, you just sprung this one on me, Joe. You took it in a direction. I was like, okay, like where was my brain going? I apologize.
Well, yeah, no, Joe. I mean, like, it's and this is why I think it's good for us to spring this kind of randomly on us. Is
Mm,
feels weird, but is so that everyone watching. So if you're watching this right now, you can know that we're not really like we're walking through this as we talk about it. Like it doesn't. We obviously don't have anything prepared for this. There
right.
isn't. There's an honest level of us going back and forth and saying like this is what honesty looks like to us. This is what we've experienced with honesty, how we've tried to be honest. But even for us, honesty can hide from us. Like I can hide things from myself and be dishonest with myself without technically maybe knowing about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, uh, for the longest time, I've had um, a lot of issues with like burying things. I'm much
Mm,
better about it than I was, but I still
mm-hmm.
do it. And this is why I want to bring it up is where I will hide from myself certain things, right? Like I won't be honest with myself about you have a problem. So like the most honest one I've had recently is I love Pepsi and it's
Mm.
a problem. Like this seems like a trivial example to probably some of you, but for me it's not. For me it's like a really big deal where I I love Pepsi to a degree that's not okay. Like
Oh,
it
like
truly is an
in
addiction.
inordinate love for Pepsi.
Yeah, like not like I'm going to worship at the altar of Pepsi necessarily, but um, you know, but this idea that like it if I don't have one, and this is how I phrased it to some coworkers is there's this idea that when I come home, like if I didn't typically if I don't want to have something, right? If I don't want to have something in my house, I want to stop doing something. I just don't
Mm-hmm.
buy that thing, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then it's not in my house to deal with. The problem is like for me, it's so much of a like a desire that I will leave my house to go buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Like even while I'm not there. And that's unusual for me and that's a problem. And so the much more recently I've had to be honest with like, hey, I don't like this part of myself. Like it's something I have to deal with and it hurts for a lot. Like to say that you don't like something about yourself is a very painful thing to say.
Sure.
Um, because it's that kind of honesty that, like we said, like you're like I'm being honest with you because I want to say something mean.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
like it feels like that externally, right? Like if I say that, if I say, hey, somebody, I'm gonna be honest with you, and then I say something true, but it hurts. Like it feels like you're just trying to be rude sometimes. But
Yes.
like if you say it to yourself, you're like, well, I guess I've just gotta like in this instance, I'm not being dishonest with myself. Like I know you can be because I've been dishonest for so long to say it's not that bad, guys. It's just Pepsi. It's
Mm.
not cocaine. It's not like
Right.
you know and other addictions
Mm-hmm.
that are super harmful. It's just a sugary beverage. What's
Mm-hmm.
wrong with that? But for me, especially as I'm getting older, uh, especially as I consider, okay, if I want to be here longer term, I need to consider my health. Um, not necessarily just for me, but for the people that are in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I need to be considerate of those things. Um, for me, a lot of things for a long time, if it's like, it's just Joe, it's just if it's for my benefit, I can push it off a long time and just be like, it's okay. I'll deal with it later. I'll deal with it later. It's my problem. I screwed something up. I will deal with the consequences of that action.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that hopefully chat can kind of, that you can hopefully pick up earlier than I picked up in my life, um, chat is whenever something affects you, it affects the people around you.
Mm.
And
That's very true.
really,
That is an honest
yeah.
statement.
And and it's something that took a long time for me to like figure out. Um, because a lot of my, a lot of my sin, a lot of my painful things that I did were very much self.
Mm.
Like it only really, quote unquote, impacted me because I could hide it from other people.
Mm.
And it
Mm-hmm.
only really damaged me. So as long as that was the case, it's only hurting me. Like who cares? But what you find is those people who care about you, and there are people that care about you, and those people who are around you notice. Even if they don't know why, they do notice.
Mm-hmm.
As a teacher, when my students come in and they say I'm fine, and it's like you're very obviously not fine.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so far I can go in pursuing that avenue, but like we take notice. Like we ask questions. Whenever I have a student have a bad day, the first thing I go do is go talk to another teacher. Hey, has somebody said something about so and so?
Mm-hmm.
Like they are not doing well. And it doesn't matter if it's sickness. It doesn't matter if it's mental health. It doesn't matter if there's a whole number of reasons. Maybe it's physical. Maybe you didn't have lunch. Like it doesn't have to be big, but uh, people around you notice, and it influences them, right? Like if I go off, if I like, let's say I'm spending like 30 minutes of my day going to figure out what's wrong with someone, and maybe it's you. Um, that's that's not a small amount of time in the day, right? Like it seems like 30 minutes just isn't much, but for some of us, like I gave every hour, every moment that I didn't have something right in front of me that was required of me, I gave to assisting you. Like that's somebody devoting a lot of time. And on the flip
Mm-hmm.
side, it might not look like that to you. Like, okay, Joe over here went and, talked to somebody for 5 minutes,
I did.
but you don't,
I mean, I
you
did.
did.
I
You
did.
did. At least 5 minutes. I mean, you've been on the call with us for more than 5 minutes, Joe. So,
Yes.
but kind of that idea, right? Like it doesn't have to be huge for you to be like that person really, really cares about you, and those things that are hurting you are affecting that other person
Mm.
without you necessarily knowing about it. And so I just want you to be aware of that. That isn't to say like, hey, if you're causing problems for yourself, you're causing problems for others. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, uh, if it hurts you, it can hurt other people. And don't let your problems that are just your problems help you to feel like I'm okay with the problem that I'm facing with. Other people care too, and other people want you to live the good life. And that's kind of why I I think this is something that we need to broach with honesty is
Mm.
to be honest with yourself about who you're affecting and what your actions entail.
Mm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and that'll hopefully lead you to the good life. Like that's our objective. We don't want you to worry. We want you to live the good life, and that comes from being honest with yourself and with other people. So I don't know. I don't know if that's kind of where you were thinking, Joe, or maybe you had another perspective on honesty. You have.
Well, I do actually. Honesty. I love how you went into being honest with yourself, and how you went into your Pepsi addiction, as you called it. So uh, it's interesting because one of the things that I've learned about how to live a decent life, how to move forward, how to think well, stuff like that, is to learn how to say no to yourself. Joe's talking about being honest with yourself and saying, okay, I have an issue here. I have something going on, and it's something that's a problem in my life. And we can deny it to ourselves for a long time, or we can justify it. I've done that so many times in my life. Like, I've got this issue, and you know what, but it's okay. And I've said that to myself so many times, like Joe was talking about, that it's only hurting me. It's not hurting anybody else, so who cares, right? And, nobody really gives a rip anyway. And, so all these thoughts go into my brain, and I'm like, okay, but when I really come back to it, I'm like, okay, this is an actual problem. Like, I've got to do something to solve this. I remember a handful of years ago when I was a property inspector, and I was very much out of shape, and I was not eating very healthy, and I hadn't done any exercise in years. It was crazy, right? And then I was doing inspections, and I walked up a flight of stairs at a vacant house that I was doing an inspection on. I just walked, like casually walked up one flight of stairs, and I was winded when I got to the top of the stairs. And I was like, that was kind of a wake-up call. And I'm like, holy cow. And then I went and stepped on the scale, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've never weighed this much in my life before. And, I was like, whoa, I need to do something about this. And, in my mind, I was like justifying it because really it was just me kind of being lazy, I guess. And I'm like, all right, I don't want to do anything about this. I don't feel like it, and stuff like that, right? So what I had to learn to deny myself in that instance was mainly comfort. Because I would just work, and in my job, I would basically just sit in my car, and I would drive around to different houses, and I'd take pictures of the houses, and every once in a while I'd have to get out, and I'd have to walk through the house, and, stuff like that. But it was most of my life was sitting, and then I'd get home, and I'd sit some more. And I wouldn't really do much. I wasn't very active. And so, but it was comfortable for me to, to live that way. And what I had to learn how to deny myself was that comfort. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to shock myself. I'm going to set this goal. I don't even remember what the reward was. I was like, I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to exercise, because that's going to be really uncomfortable. Like, really uncomfortable. And so I started doing that, right? And I was like, all right, I'm going to get up 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to eat, and I'm going to exercise. And I started doing it. And I did it for a week, and I rewarded myself with my first reward. And I don't remember what that was, but I remember after 30 days of getting up and doing it myself, on my own, and I didn't do it every day. It was more like, it started off 3 days a week, and then 4 days a week. And then after 30 days, I was like, all right, now I know that I'm serious about this. So I rewarded myself with a membership to a fitness club. And that was, then I had to pay money, right? So then I was paying money, and I knew if I just did that right off the bat, if I just, got a membership, because I've done that before, where I was like, I need to get in shape, so I need to go get a membership at a gym. And so I'd go get a membership at a gym, and I'd start paying all this money, and then I'd go for like the first 2 weeks of January, and then I'd stop. But then I'd keep paying for it. And I'd keep throwing money at this gym membership that I was not using, right? So I'm wasting money and not achieving the goal that I'm after, right? And so I was like, all right, I got to figure out how to do this and make sure that it's a habit before I start spending money. And I did that. And then so I got a gym membership. I got a membership at the YMCA because they had a pool, and I knew I liked swimming. I was a swimmer in high school, and so I knew that I would go and swim. And so I started doing that, and boy, that caused a whole ruckus in my household, in my family. They were like, what are you doing getting a membership? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm using it. Like, trying to be healthy. and and it turned into an issue. But whatever, that's besides the point. The point is, can you deny yourself stuff? Can you say no to yourself? Can you look at something and say, I really want that, and then say, nope, I'm not going to do that, or delay getting that for yourself until you accomplish something? That's a little trick I've played on myself so many times, where I'm like, all right, I really want this thing, but I want to buy it and I have the money, right? I have the money to get it. I want to just go get it because I really like it and I really want it and everything. But if I can say no to myself for a time, and even better, if I can set some kind of a goal, it doesn't even have to be related to the thing. It can be something totally different. But if I can do that, then it starts creating a bit of self-control. And that self-control is one of those things, I think, that leads to a good life. We're talking about honesty. We're talking about honesty with yourself. These things are very, very important, right? But also, can you have some self-control? This goes into being honest and not divulging every bit of information you get. Sometimes people will confide in you. Sometimes people will, tell you what's on their mind, and they will tell you something in confidence. And that's something that you don't share with the rest of the world, right? Because it's not your place to share it. They've trusted you to tell you this stuff. And that's one of the things that I think, I've worked really hard at to get good at, is like, if somebody tells me something in confidence, then it stops with me. It doesn't go anywhere else. And that's being honest. It's, even if somebody asks me about it, I'll say, well, I'm not really at liberty to talk about it. Or I don't want to talk about it, or I'll change the subject or whatever, right? Because I'm protecting the honesty I had with that person that confided in me, that I was going to listen to them, I was going to care for them, and then I was going to keep whatever we talked about between us. And so when you can learn that self-control, I had a little my boys. I had my boys this weekend, and we had a good time. We were playing Fortnite, and and it's great. I love these games that are free. Because like they're free, right? But then there's all kinds of stuff you can buy in there. And my kids go and they look at all the different skins and they're like, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that. And then my son had a basketball game tonight, and after the game he's like, hey, have you been checking Fortnite? Because that changes every day. And if something comes, I really want this, and if it comes back, I want you to get it, and I'll pay you back for it. And I'm like, dude, I've been working like all week. Like, I haven't had time to get on Fortnite. I'm sorry. And he's like, oh man, come on, but it changes every day. I'm like, I understand that. But what we did was like, okay, they're like, all right, we want this in Fortnite. And I'm like, okay, cool. Here's the goal. We got to place in the top 3 times. And it took like the whole day for us to do that. Oh, it was great. But we made it. And so they got it, right? But that was a little bit of a lesson to say, look, it's not that I'm saying no, it's just that I'm saying wait. And let's do something in pursuit of that, because if we just go ahead and get all of the things we want for ourselves, we turn into spoiled little brats, right? And that's not a fun existence. It's kind of an angry existence. It's kind of an entitled existence. It's there's this grouchiness and this, oh well, I want it, so I should be able to have it kind of deal, right? But when we can learn to deny ourselves, man, it makes a huge difference. And so that's kind of where my brain was going, Joe, when you were talking about the Pepsi thing, and you went through that, I was like, oh. But did you have any other thoughts on that?
Well, I feel like slightly attacked here, but no.
You
I
feel slightly
yeah, I
attacked?
took yeah, not in
I've got
the
all
good
kinds
way.
of stuff in my brain too that I'm
In
like,
the I'm over here
totally
like, God,
fine.
Joe's saying the things that
Mm.
hit me right in
You
the
can say
here
some things that
area.
hit me. You get, hey man, you wanna lace into me. You know enough about me.
No, no, no. But I mean, it's true. Like that, at least very recently, I've come to this same conclusion of like, I have to be able to tell myself no.
Hmm.
And that's a skill. Like that's not something that's just like you have, right? Especially when you have the wherewithal and the ability to go grab those things, right? Like
Hmm.
historically, my way of preventing myself from getting something is just not have it like there.
Right.
But with the internet and with, taking time to save money, I have like the instantaneous ability to grab any of those things at any time for any reason.
Hmm.
And building up that character of saying like, no, I'm not gonna do the thing, um, is a really important thing. So I like what you said there about setting a goal, setting an objective, barricading that thing behind another good thing.
Hmm.
Because at the very least, right? Like if you put a barrier of do good thing before you reward yourself with something, even if the other thing is a good thing, like let's say your reward is something that is also good, then you've just doubled the good
Hmm.
and you're still good. And if
Right.
it's okay, you have something good and something okay. So it's still a win. Like it's always net positive towards this idea of what we've described as the good life.
Hmm.
So I think that's really good. I'm probably going to try and use that here in the next few weeks. Um, I don't know if I'll do it with Pepsi, but at least start with some of the other things that I have problems saying no to.
You don't have other things.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah, I have
last
it.
one, right?
Yeah, that's the last one. Once I axe that one, I will be perfect.
Yes, totally perfect. I mean, you're almost perfect now. Anyway, we apparently had a memo go out that we were supposed to wear blue today.
Mhm.
Um, even
And we
Princess
read
is
it.
wearing blue. I'm not gonna put her on camera, but she's wearing blue as well. And she even mentioned when we got on the call, she's like, "Hey, we all got the memo and we're blue." And I was like, "Yeah, that's right." I wasn't even thinking of that. I put on this shirt and I was going to my son's basketball game and their colors are black and yellow. And I was like, and I wore this blue shirt. I'm like, I really hope the opposing team, like their main color's not blue. Like
Oh no,
that would have been
Joe.
embarrassing. Luckily, it was orange. So,
That's fair.
yeah,
I've
but
done that though. I've
oh,
worn
showed
the
up.
opposing team's colors to
Oh
it.
man. Uh, oh well, it happens.
It is what it is.
Hey, you're wearing blue. Good,
Let's
good
go.
job.
Blue
Blue.
Club.
Yeah, man. Awesome. Um. So, oh, Kat, you're wearing black. Well, you can put some blue on. Join our group. It'd be lots of
Mhm.
fun. I'm also wearing black as well as
Me
blue.
too.
Um, yeah, I love this whole thing about denying yourself, setting goals, and all this kind of stuff. It's there is stuff that I could use, right? I'll give one more example, and then maybe we can move on. Um, Kendra, I see you're here, and we have one of your topics.
Mhm.
So maybe we can do that one next. But I produce music for a living, right? That's my job. And so, well, and actually it's either production or construction because we're actually building a studio right now. And it's actually remodeling half of a house. We're putting in a new kitchen, a new dining room, a new bedroom, an office, a bathroom, a walk-in refrigerator. Did I mention a bedroom? Yeah. And, if you go on the Static P Friends server, you'll see every once in a while I put up a picture, and it's usually me up in the attic because that's where we've been. We've basically been restructuring all this stuff, raising the ceiling, all this. And, you got to have the proper support. And so we spend a lot of time up in the rafters and the joists of this house. But anyway, so I do music production. And I had been looking at a headphone amp. It's just this little, it's like a $25 piece of equipment, right? It's not expensive, and I had the money, and it's something so I can plug 4 sets of headphones in and have them all run off of one input, and you have your volume control and everything. It's a really simple device, but it's really good if you have a lot of people and you're all working together on the same thing, or if you have multiple, I guess it'd be up to 4 people with this particular one. But so anyway, but I've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, and I've been looking around and I've been shopping around. I'm like, okay, which one do I want? What kind of stuff do I need to get? And I looked at this really simple one. I'm like, that'd work perfectly. But then I put it off for months because I was like, nah, I don't necessarily really need it. I want it. And I could use it, but I don't really need it, right? And so I did not actually set a goal. I never got around to setting a goal for this one. But I just bought it, and it just came today. It's like sitting over there. I got a little box from Sweetwater. It was great. So it's sitting there waiting for me to open. And the reason I finally got it was because I was at a basketball game, one of my son's basketball games, and I was talking to one of the dads, and which was really weird because most of the time when I'm there, I just sit by myself and don't talk to anybody, and I just watch the game because there's this whole weird, crazy environment, that I won't get into. But anyway, this dad ended up coming up and talking to me, and so we were just talking about stuff. He's like, "Hey, so you're gonna coach your other son's basketball team?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know anything about basketball. I was a band geek and a swimmer." And he said, "Oh, well, have they followed in your footsteps in any of that?" And I'm like, "Well, kind of. I mean, both of them play percussion in the school band, which is really cool. And, and I was a percussionist, and I majored in percussion. That was my major in college." And he said, "Oh, really? So you were actually serious about that?" I'm like, "Yeah, and it's like my job now too. Like I'm a studio musician and a producer." And he's like, "Really?" His eyes got really big. And so then he started talking about his son, who's on the team with my son. And his son is a really, really good guitarist and singer. I've heard this kid play from the time they were little, from the time he was in kindergarten. Like, this kid has performed on in front of the groups at school and all this kind of stuff. Like, when you have some kind of event at school and all the kids will do something up on the stage, and he would go up and play guitar, like even in kindergarten, playing guitar and sing. And he was really good. And he's like, I've always wanted to produce my son, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know anything, but he knows enough stuff and he has enough stuff prepared that we could record a bunch of stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, actually that'd be pretty cool. We don't, I work with other musicians all the time. I don't necessarily have a fee system to go by. I'd have to put something together for you." And he's like, yeah. So that conversation there, that led to the potential of me working with this other person, was like, I'm going to need another set of headphones, and I'm going to need a headphone amp. And so when that opportunity came in, that was the stimulus to say, okay, I finally need this piece of equipment. I'd been denying myself this piece of equipment for so long. And now here it comes where I have the chance to use it. And so I was like, all right, well, I guess it's time to buy it. So, but if you can learn to do that, if you can learn how to be honest with yourself, and you can learn to say no to yourself, those are some things that are going to really, really help you move toward having a good life. And I will recommend a book also, because, I'm good at recommending books. And I've recommended this book before, but it really gave me a good perspective on what life can be all about. This book is called The Art of Loving by Eric Fromm. Fromm. Um, and it's The Art of Loving. And it really puts into perspective how love really is probably the thing that gives us the most meaning in our life. And I'm not talking about romance. If you've been here on the show, you know me and romance, we don't get along necessarily all that great. You know, like I just got through a divorce. It was really sticky and it still is. It's a big mess. And so romance is like, I'm a little sketched out by it right now, right? But love is not just that. Love, I mean, I love Joe.
I
Joe's a
love Joe
married
too.
man. I'm not going to try and
True.
steal him from his wife. His wife's
You
awesome.
can't anyway, but yeah.
Yes. But anyway, definitely I would check that book out because loving is one of those things that can really, really help you in the pursuit of a good life.
Mm.
But Joe, did you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, I just think I think that's a good place to end on, is that loving other
Mm.
people is a great place for living a good life. I don't think there's really, if you truly love another person and you're looking out for their best interests, I don't
Mm-hmm.
think you can ever really go wrong with that being the setup for a good life.
Mm.
Where, you know, you have those people around you that you love and that you really care for. Um, you know, it it'll feel like too often these days when people say "I love you," that it feels like it's always romantic. It
Mm-hmm.
always has to be like towards a spouse or significant other. Um, but "I love you" has so many nuances and connotations that really envelop what it means to try and live a good life and a life that's um, uh, worthwhile.
Mm.
And so, if I might recommend a show I've watched, Violet Evergarden actually does a good job of grappling with all the ways that you can love other people.
Violet
Um,
Evergarden?
yep, it's a show on Netflix. It's an anime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just a really good show about somebody trying to grapple with the idea of like, what does "I love you" mean?
Mm-hmm.
And all of the connotations that come with it, romance plus everything else. What does "I love you" mean? And it is a complicated question, and I hope that people in chat want to answer that question. Um, and I'm glad
Everybody's
lots of other
agreeing with
people
you.
liked it too.
Yeah.
it
Yes, and
yeah.
and Kat, I see you. Love comes in so many forms, self-love being one of them.
Mm.
I see you calling me out because that's what it's one of those areas that I'm working on in therapy. But yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry, Joe. I totally
Yeah.
interrupted you.
No, I think that's a great place to end, of just like having that ability to love others, to love yourself in a good way, not in the kind where you're just like, it's all about me, but like a respectable way that you
Mm,
care honestly for others and yourself, I think is a good place to end it. That would, at least for what we can cover in a normal time frame, what leads to a good life. So,
yeah. And there's a lot of things. I mean, we touched on a lot of different things. You know, we touched on, covering addictions and trying to get past them. We talked about exercise. We talked about, denying yourself and being honest with yourself. And, there's a lot of different aspects. And, to live a good life, there are lots of different areas we could totally dive into. But
mm,
those are some of the things that, were pretty important that Joe and I were thinking, must be
yeah.
said, I guess, right?
Right. And one of the things you have to remember here is like, we're people too. Like, this is when you see us like say these things, part of it is us talking to ourselves. Like, we're dealing with some similar issues, and so when you hear us say things that come up, Well, hopefully it has some kind of relevance to situations you're dealing with. I can assure you that it has a lot of relevance to situations we're dealing with,
Mm-hmm.
because that's why it came up. So
Yep. Absolutely. So, Strawberry Paste, thank you so much for
thank you.
that topic. Thank you for having the courage to put that out there, and hopefully we gave you some insight. And if you wanted to dig into any specific areas, you can feel free to send us another topic. We would
Mhm.
love to dig into to some different stuff with that. So yeah, and for any of you, if you have a topic, if you'd like us to talk about something, you can go to don'tworrywednesday.com and fill out the form, and we'd be happy to do your topic. If you have something you're going through or want to talk about, we'd be happy to do that. So don'tworrywednesday.com, that's the place, and you can submit it there. So moving on, we do have one from Kendra here, and uh, we don't have one from Kendra.
They want to be present.
Kendra's here.
But they're here.
Oh, never mind. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, you're totally fine. I hear you. Kendra, you're still here, yes? I just saw you put something in the chat like
Don't make us reference
a
more
second
shows.
ago.
There, they're
Yes.
back.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So Kendra has a topic that was that's called celebration, preparation, preoccupation. This sounds very interesting. So what I'm gonna do is I will get it up here on the screen, and that way you guys can all read along as Princess reads it aloud. So Princess, whenever you're ready.
Hey everyone, it has been a while, and I hope you're all doing well. This is more of a rant in a way, so here we go. My sister is engaged and is going to be married in March. My sister made her best friend, call her M, the maid of honor, and I'm very happy that it is not me, as I am not that good at organizing. The bachelorette party is December 16th through 18th in South Dakota. M has put me in charge of making photo props for the bachelorette party. I have made 14 signs with quotes on them from her favorite book series, The Lunar Chronicles. I have made 6 masks, each representing a character from the books. I've also painting some gloves to look like a robotic hand. It seems like I have plenty of time to get this done, but I don't, especially since I have a community choir and just got 2 solo parts for it. And the concert is on December 4th, and we have only 2 more practices before the concert.
Mm.
I also have to get some recordings done, and thankfully I have people that are helping me with those recordings so that I don't have to do it all myself. But I still want to get all the thumbnails done and edit everything. I also want to be able to relax while I'm at the bachelorette party and focus on my sister. I also have 2 cats, Critter and Buddy, who I have to make sure in advance that everything is out of their reach and they won't be able to knock anything over or get into anything. Anyway, thanks for reading/listening. Lots of love and God bless, Kendra.
Mm. Well, thank you, Kendra, so
Yeah,
much.
thank you. That's a
Um,
lot.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I can totally understand how you might feel like there's maybe some overwhelm going on. You've got to be ready for this. Oh, but the bachelorette party is coming right up in what, a little over a week, 10 days, something like that. And looks like you already had your concert because that was on the 4th, right? That was I right on that?
Yep,
Yeah,
she said
December 4th.
concert's over.
Yep. Okay. Cool. The concert went well. Good. I'm glad to hear it. And you have your recordings and everything. So, did you how's the bachelorette party planning and all the props and all that kind of stuff? I mean, are you doing okay with that still, or like are you feeling strapped or anything like that? Because yeah, I definitely know what it feels like to have a lot coming at you all at once, and to kind of be behind the 8 ball, as it's sometimes said. Um, the props are done. I had to find a hiding place for them. All right, Cool. So, wow. So you're doing pretty good. And also had to order the bachelorette gift from all the girls attending the party. That's awesome. So, wow. You've done very well, Kendra, I have to say. The gift arrived and is wrapped. So, wow, you're like on top of it. That's awesome. I mean, I can just say congratulations that
Yeah, we're
you were
done.
able to do
Good work.
that. Like,
Good work.
but I don't know. I mean, so I mean, I guess if we're gonna say much about this topic, I would say, man, when you're in that situation where you were ranting, where you were venting and saying, I've got all this stuff to do. I've got, all these things that I've got to do. And I've got these 2 cats and I got to be careful of everything and the concert and the party and all the stuff you had to make and everything like that. Um, oh, Kendra, I have a new thing that popped up since then that has given me a little concerned, but I think we have it figured out. That's awesome. I'm glad that you have it figured out. But one of the things, I mean, this is a great lesson for all of us, and for me in particular, because when I get overwhelmed, like I start going down this path of I'm not going to be able to get this done. I'm going to fail. Even if I do, even if I get this stuff done, it's not going to be done right. And I have all this self-talk that's just horrendous, right? But one of the things that, I always have to remember is the time's going to pass and this thing's going to happen and it's going to happen the way it's going to happen. It's just going to. And I will do my best and whatever happens happens. They will fall into place wherever they fall, right? But wow, I mean, I'm impressed. You've done a good job, Kendra. So, Joe, did you have anything that you wanted to mention about this?
Oh, probably because I didn't do well in what she's talking about. So Kendra did fantastic, and I think uh, we should have great props for her for doing
Mm-hmm.
such fine work. I mean, in terms of like, I hope everyone watching goes, "Wow, Kendra was very concerned about the things that were happening and what was coming up, and they were able to take care of that without any kind of issue. Well, not any kind of issue. Obviously, there's still things going on, but that thing that so many weeks ago that seemed very large and very looming and seemed like a big piece of the puzzle has kind of fallen into place. And you've done some good things to get that ready. Some of the recordings are done, the gifts are done, the masks are done, they're hidden, they're ready, and you are prepared. And how much I'm hopeful that that is just a load off your shoulders. I've been a let's see, I've been a groomsman. I've been a best man at like 3 weddings, and I've been
Mm.
terrible at each of them.
That's because you're the
Um,
best.
like I was so bad. I'm just so bad, Joe. Like you don't
What do you
understand.
mean? You're not.
So
What part did you
for
do bad?
the first one I was the best man at, we never even had a bachelor party. It just didn't happen.
Mm.
At the time, I was working so much that I only got the day of the wedding off. There
Mm.
was like nothing available. So it was like I showed up the day before. I'm like, it was when I was a golf pro, and I think our member tournament was that week. Our club
Mm.
championship was that week, and I said, look, I'm gonna quit if I don't leave, so I'm out. And they're like, well, I guess we're just gonna let you go. I'm like, darn right. So I did get to be there, but I was just I wasn't there. And so I just want to encourage you that like this is a lot. It's a heck of an endeavor.
Mm.
And I hope that you find it to be joy filling, joy providing. Like in this moment of celebration, as you even mentioned in your topic, like it is a moment to celebrate. It is a moment to enjoy. Enjoy the nice colors. Purple, that's awesome.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And that's a really good color, honestly. Um, it's a moment for hopefully that you can. really just have that time that we just finished talking about the topic of people you love. I hope that that's a time that you can spend with your sister, whom I assume that you love. Because man, that would be a lot to go through for somebody you didn't love.
Mm-hmm.
So I just hope it is like, and I'm gonna say it because for me, that situation can end. It can end poorly. Like for those of you out there, Kendra is probably the best example. Like follow her example.
Mm.
The other example was I was the best man in my brother's wedding,
Mm.
and we made sure we had a bachelor's party for him, and it was a lot of fun to get his group together. Although it was a little weird because I didn't know all of them.
Mm.
And then when we had it, it was he was very stressed, especially because we came into the wedding. So when we had the wedding, it was very stressful for him and for the other lady, and that caused tension, right? Like he said some not very nice things to me in that time frame, and so as you go through these preparations and as you come up against stressful things, understand that like the people that you love can say some things that might not be very friendly, and that's okay. Um, it's okay to when emotions run high, to experience things you don't expect, um, and to just roll with it. Like you love that person, right? And it doesn't matter how they react or treat you. You should continue to love them. But like for now, like we look at all of the things that you've done and say, I hope that this helps propel you into more in the future, right? Like this is typically when we get a topic, it's like, hey, I've got this thing that I'm questioning. And here you had a question and you're like, I'm just going to answer it, guys. Don't worry about this. I will have the results for you. You can just say, hey, look at this person. So Kendra, like hats off to you for being able to go and do those things. And for everyone else who's watching and is in chat and you feel like, hey, the weight of all the things that you have planned and that you think you have to do that are like looming, understand that you can get through it. Like
Mm-hmm.
Kendra got through it and with much success and set up something that uh that was quite well. And they say, hey, look, I also was thankful I only had one solo part instead of two, which helped bring my stress down a lot. Which, yeah, I mean, sometimes things can work out how they need to. Again, getting back to our topic from earlier, if you're honest with other people, like, hey, here's where I'm at, it can really open up avenues for still seeing as much success as you can in certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe you have like your choir teacher saying, hey, 3 solo parts, and you're like, I can't do that. I've got these things and I've got this stuff coming up, and this is what matters to me. um that honesty can really help to open up doors. And I'm not assuming, Kendra, that you said, hey, I don't want this other solo part, but um maybe you don't. And again, there's that idea of being honest, so that when you're faced with these scenarios that sometimes seem stressful, sometimes seem difficult, you can just pull out of it and say, hey, um, I'm going to deal with it on my own terms and deal with it in my own way. But all in all, I mean, like, I can't say anything more than just like, Kendra, you should be uh, happy that you were able to do the things that you've done so far. And I hope that you are excited and with anticipation for the things that are to come based on what you've done to this point. So, Joe, do you have any other things to say on this wonderful topic?
Mm. Well, you brought up the bachelor party thing, and it seems to me I'm looking at what's being put together for this bachelorette party, and it seems to me that bachelorette parties are generally a lot more involved and a lot more exciting than bachelor parties. Um, I've only been to 3 bachelor parties in my life. 2 of them I was the best man for, and one was my own. And I mean, so like mine was the first one I ever went to. I'd never been to a bachelor party before. And I was like, they're like, "What do you want for your bachelor party?" I don't know. Let's, you know, grill some steaks and drink some beer, and the next day we'll go disc golfing or something, right? And so like that was it. It was really laid back, and it
Mhm.
was just us at my house, and there nothing crazy or anything like that. And then so it's like that kind of set the tone for me, like for a bachelor party. It's kind of, maybe I'm just boring. I don't know. So then like my brother's bachelor party comes up. I was the best man at his wedding, and it was his was like the same thing. We just like went to his house and we hung out, and there was beer and steak, and we hung out and talked and had a good time, and it was just us, the groomsmen, and then some of his other friends came over and whatnot, and that was it. And then my buddy Steve had his bachelor party, and I was the best man for that one, and they were like a couple days before the wedding, like it was the week before the wedding, his soon to be bride uh called me and was like, "Hey, what are you doing for Steve's bachelor party?" I'm like, "I'm supposed to have a bachelor party for him?" Oh, dang. um like, was he expecting one? He never brought it up. And she's like, "Well, I think the other groomsmen are expecting a bachelor party." And I'm like, well, I'm not from that area, so I don't know what's around there. I don't know, what do we do?" And so it was basically we visited a couple microbreweries and hung out, right? And like that was it, you know, ate some food, you know, tried some different beer, but it was not crazy, not like what you hear about bachelor parties like in the movies or anything like that, like to me that sounds like too crazy of a time. But then I see, like we'd be out doing something, or I'd be gigging. I'd be playing a show at a bar somewhere, and then like this bachelorette party would come in, and there'd be all this crazy stuff, right? And like she'd have her crown on and a sash, and all this stuff. And so bachelorette parties to me just seem like there's so much more that goes into them. And Kendra, I think I gotta also hand it to M, that delegated some of these tasks to other people so they could have this great bachelorette party. They could have this great time. And because sometimes it's just too big of a task for us to do on our own. And I actually ended up delegating my buddy Steve's bachelor party to one of the other groomsmen. I'm like, "Dude, I don't know what's in that area. I don't live in Flint. So you do?" And so you figure it out. And he's like, "Okay, cool." And I let him figure it out. So, oh, Kendra, you're saying you probably go on a hike. Honestly, the hiking part I'm not excited about because I'm not in the best of shape, but it's something that my sister loves. That's awesome. Um, yeah, taste testing water. Is that a Flint joke, Kat? Yeah, you still don't drink the water in Flint.
Oof.
You don't. I remember my buddy, he no longer lives in Flint, but I remember when he did for years, I would go over there, and this was way after the water crisis that was going on. And they're like, "Okay," they're like, "You want some water? We got free water, free bottled water." Like everybody in Flint got free bottled water for like years and years and years and years. And it was pretty amazing. They're like, "Hey, you need water for the ride home?" Like, sure, why not? You know? But yeah, for those of you who don't know, Flint, Michigan had a tremendously terrible water crisis. And yeah, like you couldn't drink the water for a while. But anyway, Kendra, I do have to tell you, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with all that you got through. You're also going to be doing some pottery decorating. That's awesome. So wow, so you got a lot of cool activities that are going to be fun. And yeah, that's exciting. It's a different world than what I'm used to. But Kendra, I'm proud of you for getting through all of that stuff. I'm proud of you for handling the stress and the overwhelm and still pushing through and getting these things accomplished, because that, man, when you got a whole ton of things hitting you, that can be really hard. So I really appreciate you sharing, and I appreciate the updates and everything. And I'm really proud of you for doing as well as you did. It sounds to me like you kept on track and did a really good job. So thank you, Kendra. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's about all I had to say. Joe, did you have anything else?
Not really. I mean, I'm just like, as Kendra keeps adding things, it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my word, like just more. It's like, what in the world? Like, we're over here. The guys are just like, we're just gonna go hang out. Like that's
Yep.
it. That sounds like a party to us.
Yep.
Kendra's like, we're gonna go climb a mountain. We're gonna take a train ride. Then we're gonna do some pottery lessons. It's all gonna be masked. Plus, we've got quotes and things. And I'm over here like, oh my, how do you think of all these things?
Yeah.
I'm not the creative kind that can get through it. But I really, on top of everything else, like your mentality in it, I think is probably uh the greatest thing to me of just, hey, like you're like, hey, I set up all this cool stuff for the party. Something's gonna go wrong, and I just kind of accept that. Like that kind of mentality of, whatever happens will happen and that'll be good is just super cool. It's super cool to have. So I'm glad that you're there. Like I'm glad that that is that is what is um your position on things. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us. I think that that's wonderful to have, um just have an example, right? Like to have an example of someone who is working through those things, because I know a lot of times it feels like, uh, for us up here, the blue shirt gang, um, like we're, Joe's only 19, which isn't that old, but it seems like we might be older getting things done.
Right.
And that's,
Having been married and divorced and, like at 19 already.
yeah, that's
And
just, there's a lot. It's a lot of life experience at 19.
it
But
is.
even then, it seems like it might be a few years away. And
Sure.
for Kendra to just be like, I'm doing this stuff right now. That example is just good. Just having the example of it doesn't matter how old you are or what you're going through. Um, you can
Sorry.
you can deal with those situations. Yeah, I know. At 26, 22, I know because I'm saying this because Joe and I are not. Well, I'm not 50. In case anyone can figure that out,
I'm not actually
but
19 either.
we're up there, and sometimes it feels like, um I know that was I was growing up, just like it always felt like people in their 20s were just always goofing off.
Mm.
People in their 30s like had their life together somehow by some miracle,
No,
and
they
people in
didn't.
their people in their 40s were just like they got it. And it's interesting to
No, they
come
don't.
to the conclusion that like really nobody has it together, but it's that mentality that Kendra's kind of showing of like, hey, something is gonna go weird, and we just kind of accept it. And just that level of maturity that's there, I think is really cool to see, especially from someone who's I can't believe I have to say only 26. Um, but from all the people who are younger of like, hey, I'm dealing with these scenarios at my age, and to just be that encouragement for the people who are coming up. I know that as I was approaching, my age now, I was always thinking, man, I don't see any examples of people who are this age group who are just accomplishing things and getting things done. And that was really frightening to me approaching this age because I'm like, am I just gonna completely bomb everything? And that's not the case. That there are people out there. And I think if anything, I've seen it more. And so having people like you, Kendra, who can be that example of like, hey, you don't have stuff figured out quite yet. Like you can get there. Like there is a a light at the end of the tunnel. There is a mature way to handle things, and that you can get there, and it doesn't matter your age. I think is just a really cool life lesson that Kendra is just sharing with all of us. So I really appreciate the fact that like we just kind of get to talk about all the cool things you've done in this particular question, and just
Uh-huh.
say, yeah, look at this person.
Totally. Totally. That's
But
awesome.
that's all I kind of got, Joe. I think is just hats off to Kendra.
Yeah, right on. Way to go, Kendra. That is awesome. So,
Mm-hmm.
and thank you so much for sharing and keeping us updated. And I'm really glad. It sounds like it's going to be a great time. So I'm looking forward to hearing. You can feel free to let us know how it went. We'd be happy to hear. So and then it would give us a lesson in how to throw a party, maybe. You know. So, but then, yeah, but handling everything and juggling it all and then still getting it done. Way to go. So, awesome. Thank you, Kendra, so much. So, yeah. So, let's what do you say? We could do another topic. What do you think?
What topic do you want to do, Joe? I
Well,
think it would be the big question here.
I
I mean,
think
I'm not resistant to it. Like I'm happy to talk about all kinds of things sometimes.
okay. Well, we
Um,
do have one that's here
ooh,
called Christmas Gift Ideas from Citrus. And so yeah, I think that's the next one that's up. So let me get this one up
well,
here. I
Joe,
mean,
do we have is Meow still here? Did they hop out?
oh, Meow is here. Meow just said, by the way, if no one told you, I got my Discord account back. Awesome. Cool. I'm really glad to hear that. So, okay, so I don't have to continue blocking you. Um, so that's awesome. Well, I got a message. I got a message to say that it needed to be blocked. That Meow needed to be blocked because it got hacked and the account did and whatnot. So glad to hear it.
I
Thank
mean,
you,
if you
Meow.
didn't click the link, it would be fine.
Oh, okay.
That was the real big thing. It was some of that is just to discourage the person that's hacked the account from sending messages, but
I see. Okay. Gotcha. So we also have a topic. Which one did we want to do, Princess?
that was your choice.
That was my choice.
One of
Well,
them is a little more urgent than the other because it's time sensitive to Christmas, and then the other one is Meow is here. So
okay. Well, good question. Meow, I think we'll do yours because you're here. And, well, wait. Yeah, if we do the Christmas one next week, that's still plenty of time. I mean, I do all my Christmas shopping like July.
July, wow,
I
you are
do.
on top of things, Joe.
uh, no, I do it like December 23rd is when I go to the store and go Christmas shopping. Unless I get stuff on Amazon, then I try and get it or order it on like the 22nd.
you don't go Black Friday shopping for Christmas
Oh,
presents.
no, 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 no.
Meow. The
That
English assignment. Yes, it is that one.
is it that one?
Correct, Meow.
All right.
Yes, it
Are
Cool.
is
you
that one.
cool with that one,
Are
Meow?
you that is the question of the day. Would you like us to do this topic of yours?
Cool.
Cools.
Cools. All right. Cool. Then we will do it. So this is called, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right. A Jaren's passage? How do you pronounce that? Princess, do you know? Jaren?
No,
Jaren?
you could go Jaren or Jaren, either way.
It's
Yarens.
J H
Jachin. I don't know. You could pronounce it however you want. Make it French.
Jahren. Jachren. Sounds perfect. All right. A Jaren's passage, and this is from Meow. And what I will do is I will get it up on the screen for you guys so you can read along with Princess. So, Princess, whenever you're ready.
The other day, I had this English assignment. Write a short passage with syntax that's modeled on gerunds, long sentences, intentionally omitted punctuation, addition of unnecessary words and phrases. Your passage might reflect busyness, excitement, hopelessness, frustration, mania, or anything else. This is what I wrote. I just want to cry, 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 because it never stops, never stops, never stops. And I'm breaking, falling, hurting. Why? I don't understand, and it makes no sense. And I don't know why, and it's too confusing, and I don't know why. Anxiety and stress and anxiety, and it's too much and anxiety. And I can't do it, and anxiety, and I'm scared and anxiety, and it's never enough, and anxiety, 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 anxiety. Falling, crying, waiting, trying, breaking, crying, falling, waiting, trying, falling, crying, breaking. Hiding from them, they don't understand. And I'm hiding and I don't understand and I don't know. And I'm scared and I'm trying and I'm trying and I'm trying. Hoping and trying, thinking, studying, trying, failing, breaking, crying, stressing, and hopeless, pathetic, worthless, pathetic, failure, losing, crying, anxiety, me. What are your thoughts on this? Thanks. Meow.
Mm.
Mm.
Meow. I have a lot of thoughts on this, to be quite honest. You're speaking my language there, my friend. Um, and yes, you are right. You wrote that and thought it could make a good topic. It does make a good topic. Um, Cat, sounds like your thoughts during lecture. It, I can understand that depending on the lecture for sure. Or if the lecture is boring and your brain just goes in that direction of all the stuff going on. I mean, I can. It's been a crazy year in my life, and so I understand all of this feeling of trying and waiting and crying and anxiety and stress and everything and being afraid and people not understanding and oh my gosh, like that whole mixture of everything can just be crushing and it can be incapacitating at times. And Meow, you've shared a bunch of stuff with us about different things that have happened recently. You've had a lot going on in your life, and it's only natural for you to be in this situation of feeling all of these things and just this crazy whirlwind of emotions. I'm with you, and I'm sorry because I know how hard it can be. Speaking of anxiety, I got to finish this song in less than a week, and I have so much to do. I also understand that feeling.
Musicians.
I know, musicians, man. Crazy musicians. People of any artistic persuasion, I think, you can fall prey to this, deadlines and different things. And because as an artist, we're perfectionists to some degree. And so, we want it to be done well, we want it to be done right, and it's never good enough. And we have a deadline, and it's like, oh my gosh, how am I even going to meet this deadline? And it can be really, really hard. And I'm sorry, Meow. I'm sorry. You're not alone. I will tell you that. You're not alone in feeling this way because a lot of us have gone through similar things. Maybe it's not the same mixture of things that you're going through, but you know, we all get faced with things that cause us to just get thrown out into left field. And we may not know what's even going on, but we just know that it hurts and we're afraid. So I'm sorry, and I'm with you. And I'm looking forward to hearing what Joe has to say about this because
I'm
you're
still
what?
reading it.
Oh, you're still reading
No, no, it's
it.
good. I just like Meow. Can you clarify and maybe like is this like an active feeling, or is this just what you wrote for an assignment? I don't know you that well, so I can't like claim this, but it seems you said you wrote this for the assignment. So
Mm.
I'm assuming some of your emotion is put into it, and if that's the case, I'm talking about that. If you want me to grade your essay, okay, cool. I can do that as well. But okay, cool. Active feelings, which is completely fair.
Mhm.
Um, so okay. Good. No, I really like that when you're feeling emotional, you write about how you feel. I think
Mhm.
that's like a really important part of the creative process.
Mm.
And I probably can't talk to that as much as Joe or some other people uh, on this particular show can. But it's good. It is good to write out your feelings. Um, I've done it a few times. It feels really weird because you're like, man, how in the world did I just write that? Right? Like I've written some things in some emotional seasons where I'm like, man, that was really powerful and that was really good writing. And I don't know how I wrote that because I don't that doesn't feel like something that I said. But like in terms of, it's weird to say this, but in terms of how you're based on the context of your assignment and what you wrote, like A plus. Like it's really good.
Mm.
Just in terms of like writing assignment, I think it was really well done. If your objective was to write something that uh, is very much exemplifying the emotion, like in your writing style to exemplify the emotion that you're feeling, I think it does it really, really, really well. And so I'm basically going to do an analysis of your writing and then like talk to you about the things in your writing. And
Mm.
hopefully that's not a weird thing. But as a teacher, like that's where my mind goes. So I'm sorry. I apologize for that. Um, but I really like this this section here, uh, where you just start immediately with uh, three lines of just triple uh, repetition. Cry, cry, cry. Never stops, never stops, never stops. Why? Um, is actually uh, a really great use of repetition to immediately state, like right off the bat, like boom, what I'm feeling. Okay, crying, it's not stopping, and I don't know why. Like you have established that in the first like lines of your writing, which is indicative of somebody who knows, right? Like you know that what you're experiencing. Which doesn't necessarily make it easier, but I just want to tell you like that's really encouraging that you are someone who seems like they know the situation.
Mm.
Like you have a good grasp of what situation you're in. And so like one, great writing. Two, like we're basically psychoanalyzing your writing.
Mm.
And so I want to encourage you, like you have identified things that are going on, and that's a good thing. When I've found myself personally, when I go through things that are very, very difficult, that make me anxious, that make me want to cry and hide and just not deal with them. Um, I've I've always gone through like a step phase. Like I just go back to this two-step phase, because it's what gets me through it the best. And hopefully you, having identified where you're at, have some kind of like, here's the next thing. Part of the reason I encourage you is because I I hope this isn't like we've talked about living the good life so far today,
Mm.
and I just like to rewrap it back in there. Like I'm gonna assume that this isn't your objective for the good life, and you want to move on to some sort of joyful thing, some kind of mental picture that you find nice that isn't providing you anxiety, but the opposite, which is usually considered peace. And so when I've dealt with these things, there's a two-step process I go through. I read the book of Job in the
Mm.
Bible, which is like a really like I would prefer if you just killed me. Like that's
Mhm.
basically what Job's kind of cry out. of his heart. Is like, I'm experiencing this crying, this never stopping. Like, why in the world is this happening? Like, I haven't done anything. Like, what in the world is going on? It's not me. Like, why do I have to deal with this? Because I think Job is just a really relatable book for anyone who's experiencing um, any kind of turmoil, especially turmoil that you don't know. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, what do I deal with this? Like, and it even goes into conversations with his friends where it's just like, why are you telling me this? Like, I hate you guys right now. Not that you do, but like, this isn't helpful. And so I like to go back through Job often. To like, oh, like, it's okay to feel this. It's okay to have this emotion. Like, this is a good thing to write and to get out and to say. Like, it's okay to say these things, and it's okay to like get it out however you get it out. If it's writing, if it's singing, if it's talking to a friend, like, get it out there, because hiding it like inside of you is just not healthy. Um, and then once you've gotten to that, there's a second step, right? Like, if I leave it there where I'm just like blah 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 awful and badness, and you can let that sit around you. Um, again, I'm going to come at it from a perspective that's helped me. I go to Philippians 4 in the Bible. It's a great chapter of, you know, in all things, to not be anxious, which is like, why would you say this to me? I'm anxious right now. Stop saying that. But it says, in all things, don't be anxious, but through thanksgiving, through prayer. I'm butchering the passage. Sorry, this is bad.
I don't know
It's
it
almost
either. I
sacrilegious.
don't have it memorized either.
But it's this idea of being with thankfulness in a heart that says, God, you can do something about this. Just hand over all of your worries. And then peace that surpasses all understanding will be provided to you. And it's like that, again, like, that's not, it sounds in the moment, and unless you're the one searching for it, it won't happen. But it sounds like, Joe, you're just saying this. Like, this is like the worst advice I've ever heard. Like, I say it to myself because I remember going through a really, really dark time in my past where I did this, and I'm like, this is like, if I was being honest, I'd be like, if somebody said this to me and I wasn't reading it, I'd be like, you were just saying, like, the $5 buzzwords just to make me feel better, I think, because it just doesn't feel like you're saying things that should be effective. And I'm gonna read the passage word for word now that I have it in front of me, so that
Okay.
I don't feel bad. But it's don't be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication, which is this idea of like, okay, somebody has a better handle on this than me, because I'll be honest with you, I don't have a great handle on everything. A average Joe will not have a good handle on everything, and that's okay. With thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Which, again, if you're a Christian, is very comforting. If you're not, that passage isn't as comforting to you. But I
I
want to,
will interject and say, even if you are a Christian, sometimes that passage is not comforting.
right, and that's fair. But it wasn't until I kept on going that I think it really gets into the idea of what BSS is, and what I think Ryan tries to, Mr. Static P tries to do with his work, is this idea that you want to set your mind on something better. Because what follows is all of the things that if you were to focus on would set your mind at in a direction that's good to go in. Whatever is good, or whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there's anything of excellence, anything worthy of praise, you should think about these things. And I say that because it's really easy to say the negative. It's really easy to, when I say easy, it's not easy at all by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm going to say it this way because the second step is the harder step, which kind of sucks. But that negativity of, I want to cry, I just want to just bawl my eyes out because this thing that I'm dealing with has me in its grasp. Saying that is tough. It's very, very tough. But then the follow on from that is you've said it, you've got it out. Now what I want you to do is I want you to focus on all the things that you know that are good. That idea just seems so tough and so foreign because the idea is you're looking at, like, if you look at your life, you can see, oh my word, there's not a whole lot of that going on here right now. Like, easy for you to say, kid. Like, what does that even look like? Like right now I'm dealing with you know, a fight with my spouse. I'm dealing with parents that I don't get along with. I'm dealing with friends that are just not even there. I'm dealing with the fact that I don't have any kind of money and I don't know where I'm going to stay tomorrow. Like, what you just said means literally nothing because I don't have time to think about those things. And the reason I bring it up is because you have to. Like, it's that thing of, I know, but I'm going to do the things that bring those things to my mind. I'm going to listen to some great music by Static P that brings the honorable things to my head. I'm going to listen to you know, songs from friends. In this instance, I'm using the music because it's relevant to us here right now. You know, I'm going to read a good book that I remember some great quotes out of. I'm going to look back at some notes that I've written to myself for moments like this. I'm going to find friends who I know, like we talked about earlier, that are out there who are going to tell me the honorable things, the things that are good, the things that are noteworthy, right? Like when we got to remember, like I'm talking through the idea even as I come up with it, so this doesn't seem like a train that's necessarily got an end. But when I started, my first thought here for you, Meow, was, hey, look how strong that is to be able to say those things so well, to be able to identify your situation so well. And that's a good thing. Focus on that thing. Like, I had the skill, I had the ability to look at my situation and identify it. Like, that's good. That is commendable. Like, but don't then say, all right, I noticed those things. Now let's take a look at them, which feels really weird. Like, it feels like, I noticed those things. Well, he's saying that's good. I should look at them. No, I'm saying it's great that you noticed them. And now I want you to notice that there's something better not in those things. There's something better in life that's kind of maybe adjacent to that idea, right? It's the idea in golf. We talk about, like, don't think about, don't hit it in the water, don't hit it in the water, don't hit it in the water, because your immediate next shot is going to go straight into the water if that's your mentality. Focus on your objective. Focus on I'm going to hit this one right down the fairway. And I don't care that I've had a bad day. I don't care that, like, I'm going to hit it this way. And maybe it's not what happens. Maybe it isn't great. But just focusing on that good idea can help you. I'm going to give you an example. So I'm using golf because that's where my history comes from. I was taking my playing ability test, which for golf is a requirement to get your degree.
Mm.
You had to pass this playing ability test, and I'm on attempt number 6,
Ooh.
and they are $200+ an attempt. So to add insult to injury, $1,000 down. This is probably my last try before, if I don't pass, like I just don't get my degree.
Mm.
This is pretty much it. And I kind of is sitting there in the back of my head, and I played the first 3 holes. For those of you who don't know golf, this isn't going to mean much, but basically I have 20 shots that I can play with. If I go 20 past, I'm not going to pass. I'm done. If I go anything under 20 shots over, I'm going to be okay. And so I opened the first 3 holes that I play out of 36 with a 2 over, a 2 over, and then a 5 over. So of the 20 shots that I had to play with at the beginning of the day, I was down to 10 within the first 3 holes. And I have 8 more hours and 33 more holes to play.
Mm.
And I remember getting up on the 4th tee, and I look at my dad who's there with me, and I'm like, "Dad, I'm not going to do this again." And he's like, "What? Like you're just done? Like you quit?" I'm like, "No, I'm going to pass today.
Mm.
I'm going to pass this playing test." And I'm like, "I'm going to hit this one right down the middle." And sure enough, I did. And normally that would be cause for encouragement, right? Like I hit great drive, except there's a tree right in the middle of this fairway.
Oh,
And
geez.
I just nuked that tree. And that was incredibly frustrating. Or
Oh,
it would
jeez.
have been, except I looked at my dad and I said, "You know what? I hit the crap out of that ball. I'm going to go make par." And then I did. And then I didn't give up another stroke for the rest of the day.
Mm.
And there was the mentality that came in that I just stopped. Like whatever it was on the negative, like I'm just like, no. Like anytime anything bad happened, I'm like, no. I hit this good. I don't even care. Like the badness that's going on, like I don't care anymore. It's just only the good. And I'm gonna focus on that. And it was really, really weird. Because as I was getting down to the end, I remember being like, I'm gonna try. I remember looking at my dad, and I stopped keeping track of my score. I was just like, I don't even care. I'm looking for the best. I'm looking for the best. And there was this one hole with 3 to play where I was like, I could play something risky, or I could like not and just really just like be weak with it. And I was like, no, only good thoughts. And my dad looks at me. He's like, he's gonna throw. He's gonna throw. He's gonna throw. And I'm like, no. And so I hit this ball so terribly, just absolutely awful. But I had done the math in my head, and I'm like, if I hit this, even if I hit it bad, the result will be good.
Mm.
And that's all I'm focusing on. And sure enough, I hit it terrible.
Mm.
But I cleared all of the difficulty. I'm like, there's no difficulty. I'm aiming for that. That's what I want. And that was that day I finally passed. It was like 9 hours of just mentally grueling activity because that negative mindset was always there. Like it never went away. Like I said that like I only focused on the good because like yeah, I just decided I was going to do something good. The negative mindset was always there. Like it never left. And so for 9 hours of that day it was I'm going to focus on the good thing even though the negative's right there. And so what I hope to impart upon you is focus on the good, even if it feels superficial, even if it feels like that doesn't even make any sense in the situation you're in. I want you to try and focus on the good in your situation. Focus on what you know to be good in your situation. Like, you know that you've identified this. You know that hopefully you know that at this stage that like crying in these situations is good, and dealing with this situation is good. But I don't know, and I'm gonna speak to your situation directly because I don't know fully what it is. But I know that you can see that there is that edge. I know that you can see that there's this is the good that I can go with from here. And it might look like a shadowy exit. It might look like an off ramp that's like dimly lit, and you're just like, I don't even know if this is kind of that. But and it might be that the evil, scary monster over here on the side is still sitting there the entire time. But having that focus on this is the good, and I'm gonna go with it, it is really, really important. And it sounds super cliche, and it sounds like all of the typecast anime characters I've ever heard of. But I think I've found that a lot of that is because for a lot of people it works. And so you're doing great things, and I want you to be excited about that, and I want you to be confident in it, and I want you to enjoy your cat in a box and all the hugs that you possibly can. Um, and I want you to be encouraged. Like, you are an encouragement to us bringing this topic. You are that encouragement. And so I hope that that helps in some slight way. My words are that of a I've been very fortunate. So if you take my words with a grain of salt, I totally get it. I totally get it. But I know that other Joe over here has walked uh, that fine line a few times, so he could probably speak to this a little bit better than I can.
Oh, I don't know if I could speak to it better than you can. I think what you just talked about was fantastic, Joe, and I'm really, really glad you went in that direction. And Meow, I would encourage you to go back and listen to what Joe had to say on this topic, because there's a lot of wisdom there, and what we focus on does make a difference in our lives and how we feel and stuff like that. Now, I'm going to I'm going to agree with Joe that I've walked through, you know, my own set of difficulties, and but you know, honestly, everybody walks through difficulties. Everybody has things that they deal with, and you know, it's weird because I never maybe my kids will come to me with a problem, and they are struggling with something, and they are fully they're in it, and it is overwhelming, and it's hard, and they're struggling, and it's crazy, and I never ever come to them with a sense of pride and say, "Oh, you think you've got it bad? Well, you know, you should see how, you know, that's a piece of cake." Because when we're at our limit or our capacity, that's where we're at. And I've said this many times on this show before, right? And it doesn't matter what it is, because when we get pushed to our limit, that's that's all we can handle. And that's reality, right? So what I'm going to do, Meow, oh, princess, thank you. Everyone is entitled to their own sorrow, for the heart has no metrics or forms of measure, and all of it irreplaceable. And that's very true. I mean, I'm going to read through the last two sentences of what you wrote here. If they're, are they sentences? Okay, long sentences. It's weird because there's not much punctuation, so it's interesting. But anyway, so okay, hiding from them, they don't understand, and I'm hiding, and I don't understand. and I don't know, and I'm scared, and I'm trying, and I'm trying, and I'm trying. Hoping, hoping, trying, trying, thinking, 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 studying, trying, falling, breaking, crying, stressing, hopeless, worthless, pathetic, failure, losing, crying, anxiety, me. And I read through that and I'm like, oh my gosh. Every single one of those words strikes at the core when we're walking through difficulty. Every single one of those, especially that last little bit. Trying, falling, breaking, crying, stressing, hopeless, worthless, pathetic, failure, losing, crying, anxiety. And I'm like, oh man. It's so rich with meaning. It's crazy because there's beauty in that. It can draw us and it can draw our hearts. And we can recall those times that were painful. We can recall those times where we felt like complete failure, hopeless, worthless, and we cry and be anxious. And we're trying as best we can. We're doing the best we can. And it's crazy because, you know, one of the things that it seems like I've noticed in, throughout my lifetime, since the time I was a kid, and I've been through this with my therapist a bunch too, and that is that the idea of not ever being good enough. Everything is not good enough. And even now, like with some of my friends, I'll talk to them about some of the things that are going on, and there will always be some kind of suggestion about how I didn't do something right, or how this is what's happening, and the answer is no, that doesn't make any sense. You shouldn't do that. This is what you should do. Blah 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 blah. Right? And it's like, okay, like dude, you have no idea the complexity of what's going on. I've had to say that to certain friends of mine, where it's like, look, I understand from your point of view, this makes sense. But when you factor in all these other things, all these other people, all the other parts of this situation that are complex, you're not factoring any of that in. You're taking a black and white stand. And so then that makes your answer incorrect. But you know what? I don't know the answer either. So I appreciate your input. And in a perfect world, that would be great. But with all these other things, it goes so much deeper than that. And Meow, your words reach so deeply in what you've written. It's beautiful. And it's painful. Ryan has said on this show before that pain is beautiful. Our pain is beautiful. Our suffering is beautiful. And there's a reason for it. And there's meaning behind it. And I want to believe that's true. And sometimes I do. And sometimes when I'm in the midst of the pain and the turmoil and the heartache and the just sheer mountain of crazy nonsense that just seems to like fall over on top of me, I'm like, dude, there is no beauty in this whatsoever. I'm sorry. This is not beautiful. And Joe read that passage from Philippians. Philippians, right? Yeah, Philippians 4. You're muted.
Yeah, I muted
Okay.
myself.
Yeah. And I'm like, and that's wonderful bits of encouragement and wonderful, and it can help uplift us to read words like that and to hear words like that. And then there are times when we are just in despair. Joe talked about the book of Job in the Bible, Job, Job. And that is basically a book about suffering and torment of a person who did not deserve it at all. His life basically just totally, completely fell apart, and he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't deserve it at all. It happened to him. There's a prophet by the name of Jeremiah, also in the Bible. He had the same type of sentiment as he, would in that book. There are verses, "Cursed be the day which I was born. Cursed be the womb that bore me." Oh, that I would have never seen the light of day. Like we go through these times and it's like it would be better just to have never existed at all, because this is just too hard. But here we are, we're trapped, right? We exist. We didn't ask to. I didn't get asked if it was okay. Nobody asked my permission if I wanted to exist or not. I did not give my consent. It just happens. We're here. And you know what? We're here with a whole bunch of other people, and we all get to choose stuff. And some of the things we don't, sometimes we're affected by other people's choices. Other people's choices can hurt us. And sometimes they do it on purpose to hurt us. Or because they want something from us. And we're a tool. Or we're a means to an end for somebody. Which really, in my mind, that's the definition of abuse. To use somebody as a means to some end. Whether that end is some kind of personal satisfaction or or money or stuff or whatever, or just some kind of weird dominant streak in their life or whatever, right? I mean, to use a person for some end, for some gain of yours, that to me is abuse. And so I think all of us have been abused to some degree by another person. And I know we're not necessarily talking about that. We're just kind of going into some of the factors that may lead us into this area where we feel worthless, where we feel despair. We feel like life is totally not even worth it. Existence itself, I mean, why did the universe even come into being at all? Like, why did this even have to happen? And now I'm stuck in the middle of it. And I'm trapped by it. And I can't get out. And it's interesting because even, talk about self-murder, right? And as a Christian, I know that's not the end. I'm still going to exist in some way, shape, or form. So then it's like, well, geez, that's not even going to do any good then. Right? I'm sorry, I'm going in a really dark direction, guy. We're going to totally get struck from YouTube or something on this. But anyway, meow. You're not alone. So what do we do? Yes, we can do as Joe said. We can try to think on the things that are good. And that can be really helpful. Because even in the midst of our most painful times, there are things that are good. Many times we're blind to them because we're in so much pain. But even in the midst of my pain, there are friends that I have that are willing to talk to me. There are family members that are willing to support me. Yeah, there are people in my life that I'm really close to that absolutely hate my guts. And I love them, and they hate me. And that's hard, and that's painful, and that pain comes to the forefront. But there are also people that love me. And that means a lot. And Meow, I know that you have people in your life that love you. I know you do. We did a topic of yours for your entire family, and that was so amazing. I'm so thankful that you would do that you would share our little live stream, Don't Worry Wednesday, with your family members, and that you would give us the chance to speak, you know, with the whole situation that was going on at that time. And I'm sure it's still going on. I'm sure it's still hard and painful, and oh my gosh, I'm sure of it. Especially now, it's the holidays. Holidays are always tough when you've gone through difficult times. But there is good. And in your pain, one of the best things that I've learned, and I've actually my therapist recommended this movie, Mission Joy, by the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. It's not a religious film. These are two religious giants in very different religions. One's an Anglican bishop and one is a Zen Buddhist. But they're really great friends. And they share a lot of different things. And the religions do share a lot of truths as well. Both of them. There's truth in both. And they share them. But one of the things that has been reminded, that I've been reminded of, is that when we go through this pain, when we go through this turmoil, when we go through this struggle, there is something that is redeemable from it. And one of the most important things is that when we feel that depth in our heart, we feel that depth of pain, it awakens a new level of compassion for others. And so, if anything, what it does is it deepens our ability to relate with other people. And then the relationships we have with other people are much more meaningful and much more rich and deep and amazing. And I think that's literally true. I think of the friendships I have now, and I think back to the friendships that I had before. And I've always tried to be a good friend. I've always tried to do my best. And I don't always succeed. I've always tried. But tell you, the more things that I go through, the deeper the love I have for my friends gets. It's amazing. Because what you're experiencing with all of these feelings and these emotions and this stress and this crying and the hopeless, worthless pain, all of that stuff, It's all love. Because love brings us to our highest heights and our deepest depths. And we've talked about that before. Love can hurt so bad, but it can also be so joyful. It's amazing. But, Meow, I love what you wrote. And I want to hear the music you write too. So I'm going to unblock you now that you've got your account back on Discord. And I hope, I'm going to invite you to share what you're working on. If you want to share it when you're done or whatever, like I'd love to hear it. Love to. Because I know you're a good musician. I've heard you. I've done a recording with you. And you're awesome. So you can take what you're going through and all these feelings that you poured into these words that you wrote for an assignment, for an English assignment, right? It was an assignment that you had for school. And what you did was you created something so rich and meaningful that it moved my heart to read it because I could relate. And I think a lot of people can too. And if you can take that essence of what you did there and pour it into whatever musical project you're working on, oh my gosh. So many people will be able to relate to that. So, Meow, I love you. And I'm going to encourage you to continue to create with this depth that's so hard. And sometimes we're incapacitated. I've been there before too, where I try to work on stuff and I can't. There are those moments. But Meow, thank you. Thank you for sharing this. Thank you for giving us the gift that is you. Thank you for giving us the gift of what you've written. Because it is meaningful and it is purposeful. Even though it may not feel like it, it makes a difference. So again, thank you. And that's, I don't know, I think I've gone far enough. But Joe, did you have anything else?
No, if I add anything, I'll only detract things. So, if it wasn't clear on this topic, it might feel like we've got more to talk about, but I'm pretty sure Joe and I think Kyle yesterday, were on this track a little bit anyway. So we kind of got that background. Like the situations don't. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not going to be able to speak to this on the same level that Joe can. But someone who is in this scenario, in this situation, in their dark night, it's not something that the rest of us can really talk to. Like, you can be there, but there isn't like much you can do. Going back to the story of Job, like his friends are there and they start talking, and it's like, you should have just kept your mouth shut. Like,
right?
you didn't add anything. Just, you're fine to be there. Just shut up. It's kind of the modus of that.
Well,
And
no two
so,
people experience things in the same way, right?
right.
Mm-hmm.
As I
Absolutely.
brought up that quote, I like having that quote a lot. There are many times where people will sometimes try to shove their own stuff in front of it or be like, oh, well, you'll get through it, and, it's like, but, every heart's entitled to its own sorrow. You're entitled to all of those feelings. All of those are very real. They're valid, and they're okay. They might not feel great, and they're not something that you want to stagnate in, as the Joes have already said. But you also don't need to feel like you're a bad person or any of for having those, because we all experience different sorrows and trials and traumas and pain. If I was in a better state of mind, I would talk about this, but I also not doing so great, so I can't really go that far into it tonight, but another time would be happy to add thoughts to it, but that's all I've got.
Awesome. Thank you, Princess. And I honored your request to not put you on screen.
I appreciate
I
it.
hope that's okay.
You resisted.
I was so, it was like knee jerk. I was like, I want to push the button and put Princess on screen. She's like, no, she said, please don't.
Yes.
But
Thank you for respecting me and my face as I'm sick.
your face is beautiful even when it's sick.
Yeah, it's not exactly
It's
something you just want to
sick,
show to
man.
the world.
Like,
And
anyway.
yeah, I see what you're writing there. You're honored that your writing has such an impact, and I think it's like a great encouragement. Like when you can write in these situations, like your writing is that much more impactful. And so, thank you, like a lot for sharing with us.
And feel free to write about it outside of your school assignment too.
Yep.
You know, writing is a great way to process things, to allow
sure
yourself
is.
to take what's internal and write it out in the external. Thank you, Kat, but I don't want to be shown thank you.
Yes. Yes. Princess is indeed a cutie. Yes, even when we can't see her. But yeah, wow. What I'll tell you what, I agree with Princess that to write these things is good. I journal every day almost. I miss a day every once in a while. You would not want to read my journal writing. But it's a good outlet. And so I would encourage you to continue writing. So, hey Baka, welcome. You're just in time. We're just finishing up. But it's great to see you. So Meow, thank you so much for the topic. Thank you so much for sharing what was going on. Thank you for the depth and the richness of that whole situation. And it is like the way you wrote that is very, very, very beautiful and very, very moving. And I appreciate you so much. So anyway, thank you. And please keep coming back. We love having you here. And that goes for all of you here in the chat. Keep coming back. We love having you here. You guys are awesome. We love you. And if you have a topic, go to don'tworrywednesday.com, click the submit a topic button, and we would love to do your topic. Also, if you want, you can feel free to DM myself. I'll speak for myself. Feel free to DM me, pleb6992. Princess put hers on there. If you need assistance with anything topic related or whatever, you can reach her on Discord, Princess7101. And yes.
You can message me. I don't even know what my Discord is. So.
It is teach something.
Whatever the numbers are. 5635.
5635.
Reach out to me too, even though I'm the different one. So
yeah,
that
but you're
mean
still
I don't
good.
answer people.
You're still good people. You're still good to talk to, right? So anyway,
maybe.
yes.
I don't know.
Thank you. Thanks for coming back, Asuka. Thanks for being here with us. And thank you, everyone. Baka, you're here right at the end. Oh, I'm sure semester finals are fun. Ugh, I remember doing finals. That can be a stressful, straining time. August, Cat, Meow, everybody, Easy. Thank you for being here. All you guys are so wonderful, and all you lurkers, you're welcome to join us in the chat anytime you want, and you're welcome to continue lurking. We love you no matter what. So anyway, come back next week. We will be doing this show again on Wednesday because it's Don't Worry
Please
Wednesday.
consider submitting topics. We're running a bit low. It'd be nice to have some fresh content.
Yep. Or else we're just gonna start talking about whatever we feel like. Yep. We'll make it up as we go. And I think next week, Joe, are you gonna be with us again next week?
Unless you guys kick me out.
Why would we ever kick you out? You're awesome.
Yeah, especially when you're with Posey.
Yeah, right?
Doggo.
Posey's awesome. Kat, sure, you should send random equations.
Oh, great. They found out I was a teacher, and they're like, math. You can help me with math, which I can. You are more than welcome to send me questions about schoolwork. I will help. You wouldn't be the first. You won't be the last.
Yep. And Baka, you have bowling on Wednesdays. That's awesome. I'm glad you're doing that. And, feel free to join us when you get done, or if you can. But, yep, we'll be here next Wednesday at 8:30, and we will see you guys then. We love you so much. We could not do this show without you. And, again, don'tworrywednesday.com. If you have a topic to submit, we would love to do it. And just remember, we love you guys. And until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful life. We love you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, guys.